The Knicks are one of them. The New York Knicks are in the Eastern Conference Finals. They trounced the Celtics in Game 6, winning it in 6. They will host the Pacers beginning Wednesday night. Indiana knocked the Knicks out of last year's playoffs in Game 7 of the conference semifinals. It feels almost as though every time the Knicks have gone deep in the playoffs in recent and even not so recent memory, because all of this is forever ago, it's Indiana they've played. That was the scene outside the Garden on Friday night. The guy with the flip-flops still on top of the marquee.
He's still trying to get down. It was easy to get up. It was hard to get down.
It has been crazy here and fun in a lot of different ways. And we have several days to look forward to the series. But I want to start again. I remind everyone, Monica and Alan are with the Knicks basically every single day. Brian Scalabrine, who is an interesting perspective to get, who is with the Celtics every day, as you guys are with the Knicks, and clearly has like a finger on the pulse of that team and his heart beats with them. He said afterwards, I thought this was fascinating, he said on some level, the Celtics deserve to lose because they cheated the game in the way they approached the series. And I will say that a lot of people that I talked to around the city the last couple of days came away with the perspective the Celtics had no respect for the Knicks whatsoever with the way they approached the series. Did that, you guys who are experts, did you feel that watching it? Anyone?
Well, I'll defer to players on this.
Did you feel that way?
I looked at it from a media standpoint.
I didn't feel like they played with the series. I think we have to go back, right? I just think they didn't take care the end of the game. They were up 20 in Boston 2 times.
Right.
Right? Like they approached the series the right way. I think just at the end they settled for so many threes instead of like just actually stomping them.
Well, this is how many threes did they miss in the series?
They missed 180 threes in 6 games. That's an average of 30 per game. The Knicks averaged 33 attempts per game. They relied on it. You live and die. They died with it.
I don't think they cheated the game. Yeah. I love this Boston Celtics squad. You know, obviously they dealt with adversity with Tatum, being out due to injury, but I don't think they cheated the game. I do think that they need to look, and when it comes to clutch time, do we need to stick to these patterns of shooting threes, or can we adjust? That was my only issue, because the threes is what got you back-to-back to being one of the best regular season teams, putting yourselves in prime position to make it through the playoffs. The threes, I was not mad at it, but when it came to clutch time, when they were settling and sticking to that system instead of resetting, that's when I took issue. You had 2 amazing players, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, with multiple advantages, with Jalen Brunson or Josh Hart in front of them. Someone that they can get and shoot a mid-range over. Like, the mid-range is still a good shot. Look at Bridges.
So that may be what we're talking about here, is that they looked at this and said, instead of doing what it would take to defeat this opponent, we're just going to do what we do and assume that what we do is so good, no one can beat us when we do it right. That is, I think, what he means. Look, I'm not putting words in Brian Scalabrine's mouth, but I feel like that's what he's saying. There was sort of an institutional arrogance about the team that said, if we do what we do, nobody can beat us.
That's the word we've been using, arrogance, with their style of play, Monica. That's what we've said.
So, okay. All right, so yes, it felt arrogant, but I also would offer, if it wasn't threes, if their bread and butter was to steal the ball and get out in transition, or their bread and butter was the mid-range and they were off, would we still be punishing it the same way, right? And that's, I think, and that has only come to me this morning, because I think as a team that has been successful, the playoffs is not the time when you depart from what you have done to be successful. I found myself in the series actually wondering if there was another way for them to play, because they seemed unable not to take threes. But I do also acknowledge that while they didn't shoot the 3-ball well, I think you got to give the Knicks credit in terms of making them uncomfortable, particularly in the latter 2 games that they won.
And they're rebounding. They kill you with those second chances off long rebounds off their missed threes. So they missed a ton of threes, but they get a second chance, and then they bury you with that. The Knicks were able to counter that. This series was not lost when Jason Tatum got hurt. This series was lost, as Marcus said, in the first 2 games of that series. They gave them away.
Exactly, and you got to stick to it. When did they adjust?
Right.
Like being up 20 and you seen that some of them shots wasn't going, like how do you get the ball to JT at the elbow? How do you get it to him at the post? Like they never adjust. And back to your point, they stuck with their game plan because it got them up 20 in both games. But you have to learn how to adjust in real time.
Well, I think part of this, let's put a pin in this. We can continue the discussion. Part of it is sort of this new debate between like analytics and what the eyes shows. Like the analytics say, if we just shoot this many threes and we make this many, then we can't be beat. And other people are watching and like, you've got an advantage here.
Yes, a higher percentage shot in the paint.
But you're doing everything you can to swing it around and get a 3, and you wind up missing 30 of them a game. All right, we'll dive much more.
Primary defender. So he's got the offense, and now he's got the clamps on the defensive end, and now we have Chiney Ogwumike joining the program to drop some knowledge. Chiney, The Thunder now take on the Timberwolves. SGA averaged 35 points in 4 meetings earlier this season against them. Ant-Man, 22 on 36% shooting against them. How capable, I guess, is the question, of Minnesota winning this series if Anthony Edwards is not at his absolute peak?
Okay, so even though Anthony Edwards has struggled in this matchup, have you seen the movie The Equalizer? I feel like you have, Gary, because
all 3 of them.
You feel like you're the Denzel of ESPN. You're not, sorry. But I feel like these stars can equalize each other out, which means it's going to come down to most likely the number 2 options. If they're going to try to win this series and advance to the NBA Finals and do something that they were not able to do last year, it might come down to Julius Randle, again, the number 2 option, who, by the way, Julius Randle is playing his best version of basketball right now. In the elimination game versus the Golden State Warriors, he had 29, 8, and 5. He's doing a great job assisting the ball, finding Anthony Edwards, allowing Ant to go off in those second halves. This is actually the first Timberwolves duo to average 25 points per game in a playoff series. So it's Ant and Julius. Those 2 will need to play big versus the Thunder. And yes, you're never going to be Denzel. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Listen, I'm a small role guy. I kind of envision myself more as sort of a seaside villager in that quaint Italian village, just sort of playing my role. I know my role. All right, Wednesday, Chiney sees the start of the East Finals. It's the Knicks. It's the Pacers. To what extent are you buying New York as the series favorite?
The New York Knicks are still the favorite, but I'm not going to lie. I've been here for about a week now in New York City. The city is nervous. I feel like they still want to be the underdogs, but this is a squad that is expected to win. Over the course of the regular season, we've seen their dominance, and they should be able to beat the Pacers. I'm sticking with it, Knicks in 6, and it will come down to Jalen Brunson being the all-NBA type of guard. It will come down to Karl-Anthony Towns being extremely aggressive. Obviously, we know what happens in clutch time if keep the game close. You know, it's one of those we got. Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, they're going to have to put the city on their back like they did to take down the Celtics once again because the Indiana Pacers, they have the best offense in the NBA of remaining teams. They're deep.
This is going to be awesome. Here are the Western Conference Finals Series odds presented by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Oklahoma City opens as the favorite to win the series and win Game 1, which is Tuesday night on their home court. In the previous 2 seasons, underdogs went 2-2 in Game 1 of the conference finals. Minnesota lost in Game 1 of the West Finals to Dallas last year as an underdog. Hoops analyst Monica McNutt joining the program. Monica, fantastic to see you. The Thunder turn around. They play the Wolves tomorrow after taking it 7 against the Nuggets. Meanwhile, Minnesota hasn't played in about a week. How much does Ant-Man and the T-Wolves benefit from the layoff?
Good morning, Gary Striksky. Look, I think ultimately over this one, it will favor the Minnesota Timberwolves, that rest period. But right now in the first game, I do think the fact that the Oklahoma City Thunder are revved up and already clicking, particularly after the way they closed out Game 7. I think they're playing with great confidence, great momentum, and I think they're going to roll into the series hot. Okay,
Anthony Edwards is on demon time all the time, maybe the best player in the series, even though he's opposite SGA taking on what some would say is the best team, baseline to baseline. All right, let's focus on the East. The Pacers and the Knicks, they start that series Wednesday. If I tell you it goes 7, you tell me what?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
I think these teams are really evenly matched. I think the Pacers have been terrific. And in fact, we're going to discuss this morning, little tease, whether or not the Pacers are being slept on. I am not sleeping on them. They have depth, they have scoring, they have defense. The Knicks, to me, though, while they don't have the same level of depth, they also have scoring, defense, and a grittiness. I think this series is going to be a call back to the history between these two teams, Larry Johnson and Reggie Miller, even back to last year. And so I fully expect this one to go 7.
All right, the Knicks in the regular season were 2-1 against the Pacers. And full disclosure, all right, you're part of the